Lights, camera,
Rolling.
action.
I feel the need for speed. Ow!
Wax on, right hand. Wax off, left hand. Wax on, wax off.
He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses.
Hi, I'm Joe, and this is the Filmjoe podcast, where film talk happens. Hi, I'm Joe,
And I'm Daisy.
and welcome to the podcast where we talk about films, filmmakers, trends, the good, the bad, and the not so bad, all in the spirit and for the love of film. So, when you're dead, you're dead. Except when you're not dead, you're alive, but not alive, but dead. Anyway, on this week's episode, we're talking about films where somebody who dies comes back and either takes care of business, comes back for revenge, or something of that nature. So, yeah, and we got a couple of good ones, a couple of really good ones.
Some really good ones. Some of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely. But before we continue, beware, folks, we do have spoilers. So if you have not seen any of these films we're about to talk about, you may want to pause this, watch the movies, return, or just enter at your own risk.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, so we got some big news, folks, before we go any further, right?
Yes, I cannot wait.
All righty. So we are so pleased and excited to announce that Liz, our good friend and frequent collaborator from the podcast Ouch, Was That a Ghost? She is going to be joining us here on the Film Joe podcast as our newest team member.
Awesome! Woohoo! I
Yeah,
cannot wait. This is going to be awesome.
We're so excited. We're going to have a blast. So her first episode actually with us will be on January 1st. So she's going to be ringing in the new year with us. So
That's going to be awesome. So
it's gonna-
appropriate.
yeah, absolutely. Now, for her listeners who listen to us as well, she's still going to be, cranking out those creepy and disturbing and, weird stories on Ouch Without a Ghost every Thursday. All right. So, yeah, that's the big announcement. And we just can't wait to start this new chapter in the Film Joe podcast.
Yes, that's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
All righty then. So what you been up to? You seen any cool flicks lately?
Have I? I'm going to tell you straight out. I live super far from the nearest theater.
Mm,
So I really don't get the chance to watch movies as much as I did when I was in California.
yeah.
'Cause as we know, we were surrounded by a plethora.
A plethora.
A plethora.
A
Name
pleth-
the film.
The Three Amigos, a plethora.
Yeah. So yeah, we had theaters all over the place, and now it's like, I have to like drive like about 40 minutes, and it doesn't sound that bad, but yeah, it's a bit of a drive. So
Yeah. Well, I recently got to go see Werewolves.
ooh, how was that? Well,
You know-
I heard your flash review, so
It's like, oh, I don't know what you're going to say. Yeah, it's a damn good film. I mean, it's silly. I mean, it's got a lot of eye rolling sequences in there, but it's a B flick. It's a lot of fun. The
Okay.
practical effects are really, really good. You could
Ooh.
tell, you could tell where they implement some CGI just to accentuate certain things.
Which
But
is how it should be used.
yeah, very sparingly, and there's some really good shots in there, and it's a lot of fun. I had a blast. I mean, again, it's not a great film,
But I
but
mean, that's the point of a movie, is to have fun.
Yeah.
Don't go into a movie being a freaking critic. Just watch the fucking movie and enjoy it.
Right, exactly. And that's, I mean, if you've seen the trailer, that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get what the trailer showed you, that same tone and fun. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah, yeah. I also got to see the remake. I got curious because we're covering The Crow on this episode.
Ugh.
Yeah, yeah, and I got curious. I said, well, let me watch the new Bill Skarsgård version of The Crow that just
Mm.
came out this year. And I also dropped the flash review on that. And yeah, that's a, I try not to, when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna compare it to the original. I'm gonna keep it
But
separate.
the thing is that you kind of have to, simply because it is a reboot, which,
Right.
in my opinion, from what I've heard of this movie, it should not have been called a reboot at all. In fact, at the very least, it should have been called a sequel, which would have been a whole lot better, maybe. But yeah.
Yeah, it was really bad. I mean, there was a lot of potential. It was shot well. It looked well. This is Bill Skarsgård. He's Bill Skarsgård. He's damn
He's
good.
fucking
And
awesome. He's awesome.
yeah, and but it was a lot of lost opportunities. You can't really sympathize with the characters because they make stupid decisions. They're irresponsible. And that's the whole key, is that you fall in love with Eric and and
Mhm.
and Shelley in the original film. And because they're such a beautiful couple, they're good people, they're in love, full of hope. Here, just a complete opposite. They're a couple of drug addicts, and they're irresponsible. If anything, at one point they have a chance early on to turn their lives around, in the face of danger.
Mm.
And what do? They start popping pills and drinking and partying and screwing, and it's like, what? It
That's
was
so
just,
romantic.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was a total train wreck. And it's sad because it could have been a great film. For those of you not familiar with The Crow was based on a comic book, and we'll get more into that later because we're going to talk about the original. Each series of comic books, it was a series like 3 or 4 issues, and it was The Crow bringing back somebody to life to
Mhm.
exact justice and revenge. And so it's a different character. Later on, the new series comes out, it's a new guy that's brought back, and so forth and so forth.
Mhm.
And with this one, they just decided to give the same names as the original film, Eric and Shelley,
Mm.
and give us a completely different story. It just didn't make any kind of
For me, it was kind of a slap in the face, considering what they could have done. They could have, come up with their, new characters, because obviously they rewrote the whole damn movie.
right.
And so, for me, that's kind of a slap in the face, saying, you know what, the original was not good enough to remake the way it should be. So we're just gonna, make it all up, and name them the same things. Just, dude, it's a sequel.
Right. I think,
Come on.
Bob and Maggie. Okay, fine. Two different characters. And, because that's what they did with this. There was a sequel to The Crow called The City of Angels, which was,
Mhm.
about a single father, motorcycle
Yeah.
mechanic, and they killed his son. And it's a different character. It wasn't a great film, but at least they tried to go in that
And
direction.
I respect that, like you said, it wasn't it wasn't as great as the original, but it was watchable. And you
Yeah.
respect the fact that they did go with the tradition of the comic books.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, nonetheless, I mean, I'm not going to say, because I always try to stress when I give a negative point of view of a film, I'm not saying, hey, you guys should not watch it.
Oh, watch
Because
it,
it's, yeah, watch it. It's my point of view. I'm not one of those people who say, oh, avoid this movie. It's shit. It's garbage. It's dog shit. No, it's dog shit to me. And you
If
watch it,
any Yeah, if anything, watch it and tell us why you think it's dog shit.
right, or why you thought it was good, and that's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people who are just all high on themselves and they think they're the final word. I'm like, nah.
We are not movie Nazis.
Yeah, we're not movie Nazis. I mean, even if you like movies like Labyrinth and Drop Dead Fred, good
They
for
are
you.
fucking awesome.
Oh my god, to me, they're complete dog shit.
And to me, they were fun and entertaining.
Exactly, and that's all good. Now, I did when I went to go see Werewolves, I saw a couple of trailers that really fucking stood out to me that made me go, "Wow."
Okay, all right.
Yeah, one is called The Damned, and it's like a horror film, and it's set in the 19th century.
Oh,
And during the winter time in some sort of Icelandic fishing village, and there's a paranormal presence, and holy crap, it looks amazing.
hmm.
Same producers as The Evil Dead Rise.
Okay, all right.
Really cool, really cool. Another trailer I saw that I gotta see. It looks fucking horrible. It looks really, really bad. But it looked like it came straight from like 1982.
Oh, okay.
The movie is called Heart Eyes, and it's about the Heart Eyes killer who pretty much goes out on Valentine's Day and stalks young couples and kills them.
Oh, that definitely sounds in the tradition of the 80s right there.
Yeah, yeah. I got the vibe from from it when I saw the trailer of these 80s slasher films. And yeah, it looks pretty interesting. The kills look pretty graphic. It was a red band trailer, so they showed a couple of really good kills.
I know Tony's going to want to watch that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's definitely right up his alley. But it looks neat. It looks neat.
Okay, all right. Sounds good.
Yeah, so pretty much I think that's about it. What do you say we get into this week's episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
All righty. So it's time to get dead, but not dead. Some people will go to any lengths to stay young forever, but Madeline Ashton and her old friend Helen Sharp are about to go too far.
Know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart.
Some people will go to any length to stay young forever.
Is that someone?
It's Madeline Ashton. She was a big star in the 60s.
I thought she was dead.
Oh, madam, you look younger every day.
Thank you, Rose.
But Madeline Ashton and her old friend Helen Sharp
I've lost men to her before. Mad Hill!
are about to go too far.
A touch of magic. Drink that potion, and you'll never grow even one day older.
Bottoms up.
No warning.
Now a warning?
Siempre viva! Live forever! Ernest, I'm in the morgue.
When a fading actress learns of an immortality treatment, she sees it as a way to outdo her longtime rival. The film we're talking about here is Death Becomes Her from 1992, and it is directed by Robert Zemeckis, who brought us such classics as Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future, Romancing the Stone, Forrest Gump, Contact, and the film stars Bruce Willis, Goldie Hawn, and Meryl Streep. So
wonderful cast.
Amazing cast. Really great cast. So for this film, we're going to be rating this on the Filmjoe scale of 1 to 10 shovels.
Okay. All right.
All right. So a little quick production backstory here. Principal photography for Death Becomes Her began on December 9th, 1991 and wrapped in April of 1992. The film was shot entirely on location in Los Angeles and featured a lot of locations that were frequently used in film and television to keep that familiarity. Death Becomes Her was a technologically complex film to make. There was a lot of stuff going on there with early CGI. And it was the early use of CGI actually on that level under the direction of ILM, Industrial Light and Magic. And it was the first time that where film used computer-generated skin texture.
Which I thought was pretty cool. You know, when I first saw this movie and I saw the things that they did with it, I was like, whoa. Yeah. I was totally blown away.
It was totally impressive. And this led to, the advancements in CGI for ILM for their next project, which was Jurassic Park, which was released a year later. So the film was finally released on July 31st, 1992. So have you seen this before?
I have. I want to say that you took me to go see this movie. We went together.
I think, yeah, in Hollywood, I believe, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We were. It was either Hollywood, Westwood, Santa Monica that we would go see these movies. That was our venues.
Yeah. It's a pretty neat film. I mean, what really stuck out to me, it had this kind of like film noir Hitchcock kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
It was, but not so. It didn't take itself so seriously, but It was almost like a parody, but not. I mean, even down to the Alan Silvestri score, which he did Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future, Avengers, stuff like that.
And because I watched this one when I was really young. And I loved it. I thought it was really cool. I got the gist of it, of course. Fountain of youth. You're getting older. You're getting not so pretty, and you need this. I'm watching this now as a 46-year-old, and I'm like, oh, dude, I totally get you.
Right. Yeah, it's this place this whole thing on the fear of growing older, vanity. Because the gist of the film is basically Helen, which is played by Goldie Hawn, is married to Bruce Willis.
Well,
And
no, they were dating. They were engaged.
oh, that's right. My bad. They were engaged, and they come across her old friend, who is now a popular actress, played by Meryl Streep. So they go to the premiere of her. Oh, was it a movie or a show or something?
It was like a Broadway kind of show.
Right, and immediately Bruce Willis is captivated by Meryl Streep's beauty and ends up dumping Helen and marrying Madeline. And so Madeline goes into deep depression. She gains weight. She gives up on life until one day she mysteriously pops up, and she's thin, gorgeous, just amazing looking. And Bruce Willis is captivated by her now, wants to be with her, and this whole love triangle takes place, and it's hilarious. And it turns out that Helen took a magic potion that keeps her young, but it basically makes her dead. And Meryl Streep also takes the same thing, and they go to battle and they try to kill each other, and they can't. And it's just hilarity all around.
Well, and that's the thing, though. Upon taking this potion, the lady tells them, take care of your bodies. You only get one. Just
Right.
take care of it. And essentially, they are alive, but when they go to battle over freaking the husband, I forgot his name, over Bruce Willis.
Ernest.
Ernest, there you go. They kill each other.
Oh, they try to kill each other.
Well, no, they kill each other, and that's when they start looking not so fresh.
Right, exactly. And that kind of brings upon the death part. And it's hilarious. I mean, and this is where we get just this amazing display of early CGI. Because there's a part when it's first revealed that she can't die, Meryl Streep. She falls down a flight of stairs.
Yep, large flight of stairs.
And she ends up at the bottom of the stairs, twisted like a pretzel.
Oh, God.
With her head twisted the other way. And she gets up like this, and it's like, wow. I remember first watching this in 92, and I'm like, wow, that is amazing. And it still holds up today. It doesn't look that bad.
No, it doesn't. And you know what? That scene right there, that should just crack me up, because Ernest he goes downstairs to discover his wife looking like a freaking pretzel, and and the way he's going around her, like, what the fuck do I do with this?
Oh man, and let's just mention Bruce Willis's performance. He's like a cartoon character in this.
Oh my God! You know what? He reminded me of Ned Flanders from The Simpsons.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he definitely brought that cartoony angle to his performance, and it was so amazing. He's just walking around, he's running off. Oh my God! Oh, what do I? And it's like,
doesn't know what to do.
Oh, he was great. He was awesome in it. And Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep were just. Meryl Streep. Helen, played by Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn, she's natural comedian. She's sweet, she's cute, she's adorable, she can be really funny.
Right.
But Meryl Streep, just watch this and then watch Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
And you see, like, wow, looked like she was just having a blast doing this.
I loved it. Both of those characters, were awesome. And actually, I don't know if you heard, there's rumors about this being remade.
I don't know about that. The whole gist of this version is that it's this display of amazing CGI. First of all, for the first time, and that's what gets you the first time you watch it, and then you got Meryl Streep, who's just an Academy Award-winning actress. You got
Yeah.
Bruce Willis, Goldie Hawn. Yeah, this trio of talent, and I don't know if there's anything comparable to that today.
Mhm.
And but the gist is gone, I think, with that whole thing. I mean the scene where and this blew me away, where Madeline takes a shotgun and blows away Goldie Hawn, and
Yes.
she comes and when she's revived, she's got this giant hole in her stomach that we can see through.
Dude, you know what? And I remember that's the effect that just blew me away, literally. Yeah, the fact I'm like, how did they do that? You know?
Yeah, and they even play upon it because they're having this battle inside the mansion, and she shoots her, she grabs them, they try to beat each other up, and Madeline grabs a spear and throws it at Helen, and it goes right through the hole, and
I mean,
it was
uh, that was awesome.
it was hilarious. Oh god. Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of great gags in it. I mean, it even had elements of Frankenstein in it,
Mhm.
because Ernest, it was he's a mortician, and he's fascinated with making the dead seem alive and vibrant. And while Madeline and Helen are obsessed with staying young and being alive and so forth. Yeah, it was just, I mean, you have these characters that Madeline and Helen, the obsession with youth and beauty,
Mhm.
fear of losing, out to younger women, career, attention, men. All these things are at play because of their fleeting youth. And it's all rooted in vanity. And the source of vanity, men or women
Yeah,
themselves. I mean,
yeah.
that's the thing. It's like, okay, obviously the vanity or the sense of self-image is rooted in men, but also themselves. I mean,
It,
Meryl
it's
Streep.
something it's something that we can all relate to. You
Yeah,
don't have
yeah,
to be the movie star to be able to relate to that, you know? It's the feeling of, feeling wanted, of feeling sexy and beautiful in the eyes of somebody else.
right.
I
And
mean
even their own inner eyes. I mean,
Mhm.
in this case, I mean, it points out that some women will do anything to avoid the inevitable process of aging. I mean, even selling their own soul.
Yeah.
And and the reason, like Madeline, when she steals Ernest away, it isn't because she loves him, but it was just to spite Helen. It was vanity and it was pride.
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah, and Ernest, he represents the typical man. He values youth and beauty on the outside, rather, which resides inside of the heart of a woman.
Exactly.
And
His
again,
biggest mistake.
yeah, and hence his fascination in making the dead look beautiful and alive.
Mhm.
That beauty is not skin deep, but is the skin itself. It's just a superficial desire that Ernest holds.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, he has some really interesting little sub themes in there. I mean, you got Helen, how she schemes to get Ernest back. The whole plot, and this is where it gets like a film noir, because
Mhm.
she's like, okay, we're gonna kill her. Make her look like like an accident, and then we'll be together forever. And it wasn't because she wanted to be, again, not to be with Ernest, but she just wanted
Revenge.
Madeline. Yeah, revenge. She wanted Madeline dead.
Well, yeah, because I mean, she made her go crazy. There's a scene where, she's, sitting on the sofa eating freaking, icing, and
Right.
oh my god, and then they come in and they arrest her. She keeps on rewinding that one part where she gets strangled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she becomes obsessed with Madeline. So all these, while she's in the loony bin, she's concocting all of these, these, strategies on how to kill her, and, it's
Right.
yeah,
And that's what becomes a Hitchcockian type film noir kind of film. I mean, even when she's watching TV, when she's eating her icing and whatever, she's watching a film that's like a Hitchcock type of film with Michael Caine. And of
Mhm.
course, they CGI'd Meryl Streep in this.
Which is
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, and it's again the whole Hitchcock feel to it, which is interesting because Lissel von Ruman, which is the one who brings upon, she has the potion. She's played by Isabella Rossellini in this Hitchcockian type, parody of thriller.
Right.
Is She's the daughter of Ingrid Bergman, who starred in Notorious with Cary Grant, which is a
Oh,
Hitchcock
wow.
film. Yeah. And but yeah, it's got all these little nuances, and it doesn't try to beat you over the head with it. It's just I mean, the film overall just having fun.
Exactly. Yes.
Now, what did you think of there was this when Madeline first takes the potion and she's like, "Oh, I see nothing different." And then she goes to the mirror, her butt cheeks pop up, her boobs tighten up, and her head. It reminded me of Christine.
Oh my god. Okay.
You mean Christine? Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Christine, it's a 1980s John Carpenter film based on a Stephen King novel about a car that's alive. And in this movie, in Christine, the car gets destroyed by vandals and so forth. But then it comes back to life and it starts to pop out and restructure itself and make itself brand new and beautiful. This scene where her boobs and butts got, it was like Christine.
She was the spirit of Christine.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, little subtleties and so forth is just make, like, for example, when Madeline is quote unquote dead in a brutal way, she's like the pretzel at the bottom of the stairs.
Oh God, yeah.
And of course, Bruce Willis goes, this one little subtle thing that he does, he takes her pulse.
Right.
Her head is twisted backwards. Her legs are twisted in all directions.
Make sure.
And he's like, "Oh!" And then that look on his face when there's no pulse. Oh God, it killed me. It really did. But overall, I mean, for 1992, the CGI is just amazing. I mean, there was a lot of practical effects in this as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, with making Helen look fat.
Exactly. And even when Madeline gets her head shoved into her body, or like with a shovel, because Helen takes a shovel to Madeline and squashes her head under her shoulders into her.
It was funny.
And it's hilarious. And so that sequence where you see her there where the wrinkle, she's like all squatted, her neck is squatted down. That was practical. You could tell. And it looked amazing as well.
It looked awesome.
Yeah. And, but what's interesting, what I love about how this film kind of all comes around is that, they're all obsessed about, living forever and being beautiful forever. Even Ernest, throughout most of the film, he's obsessed with beauty and so forth. But it's at the end that Ernest did, because at the end, it fast forwards like maybe 30 years or so forth, and Helen and Madeline are at his funeral, and which was really sweet because they talk about Ernest that in his life he went, he climbed mountains and he did this, he created a charity for this and that, and had an amazing family and all these grandchildren, and because of this, he built a legacy, and he will live forever. He will have eternal life through that. Mm-hmm. And and it's very touching, and it makes an interesting point at the end. And Helen and Madeline, they're like, it's all bullshit, and they take off, and
they're all jacked up looking.
Oh my God, they're all peeling and ugly, and they end up falling down the stairs and breaking up into little pieces. I mean, it's hilarious.
I mean, they basically what ends up happening to them is it's far worse than aging and dying itself.
Right. And it was just a lot of fun. Not one of Zemeckis' best films, but I really, really enjoyed this.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's something that even though, we're not an actress like, like, was it Helen?
Helen, yeah.
Yeah.
Madeline and Helen.
Madeline, yeah. But still, we try to hold on to that bit of beauty, as long as we can. And, yeah, I totally, get the feel of the movie, and I really appreciate I love the movie.
Yeah. So now let's get into some key standout moments or performances. What stood out for you?
You know what? I think, fuck, there's just so many of them. I mean, for me, obviously, it's where, she, was it? I get the names mixed up. Madeline. She stands there with the shotgun and pumps around into her fucking, stomach, and she comes out and she literally has a hole in there.
Right.
And yeah, they're kind of like going back and forth, and she's like, "I can see right through you." She puts her head like right there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was, that's the scene that really stood out for me.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think it was Meryl Streep, her performance, her dialogue delivery, her physical humor. Bruce Willis in very cartoony and pathetic kind of performance.
His girl
The
laugh. No, his girl scream.
His girl scream. Goldie Hawn, as always. The score by Alan Silvestri was wicked. It was slick. I love the CGI with some practical mixed in there. It was beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it just stood out, and I love the Hitchcockian film noir kind of tone to it. I mean, it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. So let's get into the budget and box office on this. The budget at the time of production was about $55 million. And that translates to about $123.7 million today. So it was a hefty budget.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, that's the early stages of CGI. So you're going to get, that's probably the bulk of it. Box office at the time of release was about 149 million, which is about $335.2 million today. So it did a decent box office. It really did.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So reviews and scores. When it came out, it received mixed reviews from critics who praised it for special effects, its lead performances, but they found it lacked in depth and substance overall. Cinema Score, which is a polling process where they poll audience members coming out of the theater, and they asked them, hey, on a scale of A to F, what do you give it? They gave it a B, which is not too, David Kerr, he wrote, intensely grotesque, relentless, misanthropic, and spectacularly tasteless.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
That was harsh.
Yeah. But it is diabolically inventive and very, very funny.
Right,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it is really good. So IMDb gave it it's standing at a 6.7, Metascore 56, critic score 57 with an audience score of 62%, and Letterboxd has this at a 3.7 out of 5. So not too bad numbers wise, and it did pretty good box office. And there were no sequels or spin-offs or anything from this. But yeah, it did pretty well. It was pretty popular. And again, I think what really stood out, what everybody was talking about, was that hole in Goldie Hawn's abdomen. I mean,
that was awesome.
It was great. So let's give our ratings on this. You first.
Okay. So yeah, very dark movie, very funny, very dark, beautifully made. Definitely, I'm probably at their age, right now, and I'm totally feeling what they're feeling. So it was really cool. I really enjoyed it this time around. I'm gonna give it 8.5 shovels.
All right. I thought it was just a lot of fun. It was goofy, it was silly, it was a lot of fun. And one thing that for me that stands out in a film that's kind of silly and fun is where you could tell that the actors in the film are having fun as well. You can sense that from this. That it was, so yeah, I'm gonna give this 7.5 out of 10 shovels.
Awesome.
A lot of fun. Alrighty. So what do you think we get into our next film?
Okay, let's do it.
It Can't Rain All the Time.
People once believed that when someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead. But sometimes, something so bad happens that a terrible sadness is carried with it, and the soul can't rest.
I say don't move, Snow White. You move, you're dead.
And I say I'm dead. And I move.
I want all of you boys to be able to look me straight in the eye one more time and say, are we having fun or what?
Guess it's not a good day to be a bad guy.
We killed your dad. There ain't no coming back. There ain't no coming back. You're him, huh? The Avenger. The killer of killers.
Your daughter is out there on the streets waiting for you.
I'm sorry if I spoiled your wedding plans here, Frank. But if it's any consolation to you, you have put a smile on my face.
The night before his wedding, musician Eric Draven and his fiancée Shelley are brutally murdered by members of a violent gang. On the anniversary of their death, Eric rises from the grave and assumes the mantle of the Crow, a supernatural avenger. The film we're talking about here is, of course, The Crow from 1994, directed by Alex Proyas. The film stars Brandon Lee, Michael Wincott, and Rochelle Davis. So for this film, we're going to be rating this on the Filmjoe scale of 1 to 10 vinyl records.
Okay, I thought you were gonna go with rings, but
Yeah, I was thinking rings, but that
oh,
would have
were
been a
you
little.
really?
Yeah, it would have been. I was like, yeah, that's kind of generic.
Kind of
He's
Lord
got.
of the Rings ish.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So
okay, I'll give you that. Okay, vinyl records is fine.
yeah, because I think that the 90s was this whole
Oh,
revival of this nostalgia towards vinyl records, which is where we are today. We do have a lot of collectors that buy vinyl records. So yeah,
right. Right.
we'll go with vinyl records. What do you say?
Okay, I say that's perfect.
Alrighty. So a little backstory from for the production. James O'Barr, he wrote what would become the Crow comic book series as a means to cope with the unexpected death of his own fiance, who was killed by a drunk driver.
Oh
And
wow.
I've read the comic book, and it is very, very heavy. And so it was a bit of a coping therapy for him. And so it became wildly popular. And so he met with a major studio. Their vision of the film was a musical with Michael Jackson as the lead.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, and so that obviously didn't happen.
Wow.
So around the time of the publication of The Crow, John Shirley, he pitched Angry Angel to Caliber Press, who turned it down due to similarities
Mhm.
to The Crow. He wanted to do Angry Angel. They're like, yeah, it's too close to The Crow. And so he decided, you know what? He reached out to James O'Barr and he's like, let's do this into a film. So so O'Barr, he oversaw like 3 different treatments for it, and eventually it got picked up, and not Alex, Edward Pressman,
Mhm.
um he the producer, he gave the Crow more momentum and to get it filmed, and yeah, it went into production. So production began for the Crow on February of 1993 in North Carolina, and it was scheduled for about a 54-day shoot, and they were pretty much all the way through the production of the film. They only had like 3 or 4 days to go, and so there was this one shot they called for Eric Draven, which is played by Brandon Lee,
Mhm.
to come into his apartment. And when he walks in, he finds that there's these thugs that invaded his apartment and are beating up and raping Shelley.
Mm.
And so he has a bag of groceries in his hand, and he's walking, he's like, Shelly. And then one of the thugs pulls out a 44 Magnum and shoots him in the gut. And that's the scene. And that's how Eric dies.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, there was a real round in the gun and
Jesus.
it killed him. So immediately when they say, how can this happen? This is supposed to be a gun with blanks. Let's clarify exactly what happened here and how Brandon Lee was shot by a live round. I mean, you wonder how the hell could this have happened?
Mhm.
Well, what occurred basically was this. About a night or two before, the director instructed the prop master that they needed 6 or some fake bullets that were not live, because they're as props, so that because there's a scene where the bad guys are shooting back shots of whiskey and swallowing bullets.
Right.
So he needed prop bullets. So okay, cool. So what he does is he goes on ahead, and the prop guy gets the 44 Magnum, loads it up with 6 rounds of live ammunition, and he shoots it into this like barrel like device that's usually for forensics or ballistics testing.
Mhm.
It's kind of padded inside. So they get the gun and shoot the rounds into it. So the guy shot all 6 rounds into the barrel. Cool. So
Okay.
now he gets the gun, opens up the chamber, pops out all 6 rounds, okay, that are empty shells now, and he gets the projectiles and puts them back into the shell.
Mhm.
So now it's empty. There's no powder, there's no nothing. So he puts them back in, tightens them up, puts them back in the gun, and tests them out. So he
Mm.
puts it back in the barrel and goes click, 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 click. That means they're all dead rounds, right?
Right. Mhm.
Well, he did hear an odd sound with one of the clicks. It was something like or something. I don't know. Just like that.
Okay.
And and he didn't think anything of it. And so he opens up the chamber, takes out all 6 of them, and he just pops them aside. He did not notice that one of the rounds was missing the projectile.
Oh.
Okay. And so what that is that the projectile was popped into the barrel of the gun, because there was enough primer in one of the casings that made it eject just a little bit. So now this projectile is lodged in the barrel of the gun. So now let's fast forward to the next day or a couple of days later when they're filming this shot. They get the same gun, they fill it with blanks. These are legitimate blank rounds.
Mm-hmm.
The actor on cue is set to shoot him. There is a live round in the barrel, and you effectively have a hot gun on the set. It fired and it hit him in the abdomen, and pretty much he was alive for a little bit. In fact, when they shot the scene, he was actually, he doubled over. He's like, oh God. And they thought it was legit. They thought he was really acting. But then they saw, the blood or something. They realized this is the real deal. And they rushed him to the hospital, and he was pronounced dead on the scene.
That is so fucking tragic.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really sad. I mean, the actor who shot the gun, Michael Massey, who played Fun Boy, and he never really fully recovered. Even he passed away in 2016.
Oh,
and,
no way! I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, so after this point, now the directors and producers, they're faced with a decision. Do they continue with the film? Do they can it? I mean, they could have easily collected the insurance on the film. But, they had completed most of Brandon Lee's scenes. Again, they only had like 3 days to go. So at this point, the studio that was involved with the film, they dropped out. They're like, we're not doing this. There's too much horrible thing that happened on this. So Miramax then, they picked it up once the producers decided to continue with the film. Miramax picked it up. They pumped in another $8 million, and this was used for CGI facial reconstruction of Brandon Lee's stunt double to kind of complete a scene.
Okay.
And so the film was finally done. And Obar, he later remarked that losing Brandon Lee was like losing his fiance all over again. And so he regretted ever even writing the comic book in the first place. So it was pretty heavy and tragic for all around. So the film was finally released on May 13th, 1994. Your takes on this?
I mean, my God, it was gothy. It was beautiful. It was tragic. I remember coming out of the theater just totally, enamored with this movie. The music score. Oh my God, you had, The Cure, Stone Temple Pilots, Nine Inch Nails, and other, really awesome bands, contributing to the soundtrack.
It was amazing.
I still, to this date, play this soundtrack.
Oh, it's one of the best soundtracks I've ever had. As far as like, I don't think there's any other grunge music 90s alternative soundtrack out there. And it was amazing. It was because let's set the stage for what's going on, what the movie's about. The story's about Eric and Shelley, and they're going to be married on Halloween night. And they live in this really rundown apartment, in this really bad neighborhood. And they want to do some reconstruction there or whatever. They want to knock down the building. So they want all the people out of there. And what they use is strong arm tactics and they send thugs to kick people out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But Eric and Shelley really love their little house, their little apartment, and they refuse to leave. And so they finally do send some thugs over there to rough him up a bit, but they end up raping and killing her and shooting him and throwing him out the window.
Mm-hmm.
And so they both die.
Yeah.
And it's now a year later, and the power of the crow, an actual crow, goes to his grave and revives his body to exact vengeance and make right what was wronged. And it's just incredible. I mean, first of all, the opening sequence, it opens with Sarah narrating the film. And you got this sweeping shot over the city. Now, you could tell that it is a prop city. It's a model. It's not a real city. You can tell it's fake.
Yeah, obviously.
But I think that gives the feeling of a dark fairy tale, a story that you're going into this magical dark world. So it's beautiful the way it's done. The music is, it sets a sad, sweet tone, but it's
It gives me
magical.
goosebumps. Just you talking about it is giving me goosebumps.
Oh yeah. I mean, the cinematography is fucking
Ah.
amazing in this. Off the bat, within the first 10 minutes, you feel the emotional tone right away.
Mhm.
When Eric crawls out of his grave and screams,
Oh.
he's popping out like a zombie. He's screaming in pain, but you don't feel like it's physical pain.
No,
It
at
it
all.
it's like this anguish and this misery and this intense torturing pain inside of his heart. Oh man, I mean, it really hits you.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, the way that I can probably, describe maybe his pain would be, have you ever, been heartbroken? Somebody leaves you, you get broken up with or whatever. That pain, I would describe it maybe times 100 what he's going through because
r-
they took his love away. They destroyed literally they destroyed his love and he's going, through the emotions,
mhm.
coming back from the grave just it feels like it just happened to him yesterday.
Yeah, and when he
Oh,
returns to the apartment, I mean, he comes across the crow and because the crow guides him back.
mm.
And he goes past the police tape and he goes into the apartment and he starts going through the remnants of what was once his life.
Oh,
And he starts to relive the pain and witnesses Shelley getting raped and murdered, and he experiences his own death. The crow takes him through this because he has a mission and he has to know what his mission is and why,
mhm.
and give him the strength to bring death to those who did this to him.
Yes.
And then begins the transformation. Oh, and then the Cure song kicks in. He starts putting on his makeup,
Oh
and
my
it's
god.
just an amazing fucking sequence. I mean, the cinematography by Dariusz Wolski is amazing.
It
It
really
is just dark, it's epic, it's gothic, and I mean that scene just gives you goosebumps watching it. And when he finally transforms into the crow, and he starts walking, and the crow lands on his shoulder, you're
Oh.
like, this movie is about to start. It's happening now,
Mhm.
and it is, it's just incredible. But what I love about this is that throughout the whole film, it's very smartly written. You got biblical references, you got poetic references, you got
Mhm.
Edgar Allan Poe references.
Yes.
It's very philosophical, about death, about life, about living, about dying. Michael Wincott, who plays the villain, was
Oh, he's awesome.
yes. The way he delivers his dialogue, so slick, controlled, and he has a southern drawl, which just reeks of evil coolness. The way he delivers, he's like a
Wasn't he
snake.
wasn't he in, Tombstone?
No, he wasn't. He
He was
wasn't.
he was in a he was in another movie, and I'm totally brain farting on
Yeah.
it. But he's awesome. I wish I had seen more movies with him.
Oh yeah, he was great. I mean, yeah, the most recent film I saw him in was a film called Nope, the
Mhm,
Jordan Peele movie about a UFO.
mhm.
And which, by the way, was a bad film. I couldn't swallow that. That was a piece of shit.
He was
I
in The
know
Three Musketeers.
that's right. He was in the Three Musketeers. Um, yeah, I mean, the guy was amazing. He didn't have this mustache twirling approach, that wicked laughter, but just so smooth and cool. I mean,
Mm.
there was this one piece of dialogue that he delivers that was so bone chilling when he looks over at his sister and he tells her, childhood is over the moment you know you're gonna die.
Damn, yes.
And the way he delivers that line, I mean, he was just awesome. So a great villain, and you're right. I wish I would, you really want to watch him in more stuff, and
Mhm.
I think this is, to me, the best role he ever played.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, And overall, and yeah, and this what's interesting about the script also, it was structured. The script was written a lot differently initially, where you actually get to see Shelley and Eric interact and their lives together. So you get a little bit more of that. It was
Mm.
more linear. So it starts with them alive, going through the stuff, the plot starts to develop, and then they get killed. But due to the unfortunate death of Brandon Lee, they had to restructure a
Well,
lot of that.
and the fact that they did have to, all we got were glimpses of their life together, which for some reason just it made you feel so much for these characters.
Yeah.
You see the beauty. She's just so angelically beautiful, and you see them in love, and yeah, it's amazing that from those little clips, those little glimpses, you feel so much emotion, so much pain.
Yeah,
It was
and
perfect.
that's what makes this film so much closer to perfection, is that you have to get this audience identification element involved, and you have to get the audience vicariously vested in their relationship,
Mhm.
and it's very subtle, like you said, through flashbacks, through his reaction to seeing her picture,
Mhm.
to his crying or his screaming or his emoting of pain and so forth, which he also does by playing his electric guitar. You
Yeah.
feel that, and it's so established that you go, they were soulmates, and I love them two together, even though you don't really see them together.
Uh-huh.
Um, I mean, that's just it's an amazing cinematic feat, in my opinion. It illustrates the themes of death, of rebirth, of retribution, of love, of loss.
Mm.
It's the sorrow of longing for somebody who was taken from this life way too soon,
Mhm.
and at the core, people look at this and go, "Oh, The Crow, it's a gothic action movie, with killing and so."
So much more.
At the core, it's a love story,
Mhm.
and in its purest form. And you get that love that's contrasted in this world of filth, of darkness, of impurity, and how even in this world, the purity of love can prevail.
Yeah.
And
You remember the catchphrase?
yeah, what was it? I forgot.
True love never dies.
Right, exactly. And it doesn't. And I mean, they even have a line in there later on. It's like, yeah, as long as you always love them, they'll always be alive.
Mhm.
It was incredible. And it's just, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's just such an emotionally beautifully driven story.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, and again, it does capture, and we've done a couple of Gen X films in previous episodes, and but this is definitely a Gen X film.
Oh, yes, 100%. Yeah, it brings me back, and I hate sounding old as fuck, but it brings me back to a time where, we were so young, and, I remember the night that we went to go see this. It was, I want to say we went to go see it. It was at the theater that was right across the street from the AMC, because it was on the 3rd Street Promenade.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. I think I remember, but I totally forgot. Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, I remember walking out at night just thinking about that movie and just how much of an effect it had. It was just, oh my god, good times.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
nostalgic.
and I don't know if you remember,
Mm.
when we first went to go see this, that again, everybody in the theater knew the backstory. They knew that Brandon Lee had been taken from us, and that he was
Yeah.
gone, and that this was a labor of love for him. This was his breakout film. So when I don't know if you remember, the film is done. It finishes with a beautiful ending, which could have been corny, but it was so beautiful. After he does what he has to do, he's all broken and stuff, and after his
Mhm.
battle with the villain, he goes to his grave to go home, and he's there, and Shelley appears in this glowing
Oh,
angelic, and it's just beautiful. And Jane Siberry's song "It Can't Rain All the Time" starts to play.
oh, chills.
Oh, well, and yeah, you just get the musical notes of that, and she looks at him with such love, and she hugs him.
Mhm.
I'm getting emotional just fucking thinking about it.
Yeah, seriously. Yes, very emotional because like you say, yeah, she's the one they both died, but he really died.
Oh my god.
Oh.
And then as you know, it fades to black, and then you have for Brandon and Eliza, and then the song plays. The theater was silent.
Yeah.
Nobody got maybe a couple of people, but for the most part, the majority of the theater sat there in silence.
Yeah.
Just an
Whew.
incredible,
Yeah.
incredible emotional experience.
Yeah.
And just beautiful. And there's one thing I like to contrast with the remake. They're because they're junkies in the remake. They're
Mm.
drug addicts and they're irresponsible and so forth, which really does you don't give a fuck about their characters in the new
No.
Crow that just came out.
Mm-mm.
Because one of the evils in this, in the original version are drugs.
Yes. Mhm.
And that is, the one scene where Sarah's mom, Darla, who's played by Anna Thompson perfectly, she's a morphine addict.
Mhm.
And Eric breaks in on her and Funboy and, kills Funboy. And she's all like high and shit. And he takes her to the mirror to look at herself.
Mhm.
And he squeezes her arm and the heroin starts to come out of her veins.
Yes.
And the line he tells her, "Mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children."
Which is one of my favorite lines ever.
Oh my God. Yeah. And and this guides her back to being a mother to Sarah. And because Sarah, the little girl who's she hangs out with Eric and Shelley, when they were alive,
Mhm.
she's very important to them. And she also suffered from the loss of these two. And
Yeah.
she's alone in the world. And so this is one of the things that Eric does to make right what is wrong. And
Mhm.
it just so fucking beautiful.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because we say, we're calling this movie beautiful, but it's very dark. It's very, you know, God, it's dark, it's dirty, it's ugly, but beautiful at the same time. I'm like, how do they do this?
Yeah, exactly. And it's sad because again, you watch this and you know the outcome in real life and it's just heartbreaking. An additional thing, Brandon Lee was already signed up for another film right after this. And you know what that was?
Which one? I have no idea.
Mortal Kombat.
Oh.
Which
Oh.
it would have been badass. It would just have been amazing. I think it would have brought the film up because I don't know if you know this about Mortal Kombat. Not many of the actors knew martial arts,
No, no,
and
not at all.
the choreography was kind of shitty. I mean, it was a fun film,
It
but
was, but oh my god, I can imagine what it
well,
would have been.
yeah, Brandon Lee would have choreographed all the fight sequence, and he
I
would have
mean,
been amazing.
and then you think of, okay, he was gonna be in that, but what other countless movies would he had been involved in?
Yeah.
I mean, he was sure to be the next rising star.
Oh yeah, and it's just really sad. But he did leave behind an amazing film that he'll forever be remembered by.
And I'm glad. I'm so glad that they did go ahead with the movie, and they did it justice. They
They did
because
him justice.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, had they not gone through this movie, he would have died for nothing.
Right, absolutely. And he was very passionate and happy doing this film, and
Mhm.
it meant a lot to him. I mean, initially, I think it was his mom and his fiance. They were kind of hesitant to getting this film completed, and but they decided to go along with it and get it done because of Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
And when the film was announced that it was going to come out anyway, there was a lot of backlash. A lot of people like, oh, it's just a cash grab. They're just trying to make money and so forth. But when you finally do see it, you realize, no, they did it in honor of Brandon Lee.
Yeah, because they saw what they had, and yeah, no, I'm totally so glad that they did it. You know,
Yeah.
they honored him by doing this movie, and they did it so beautifully perfect. It was
Oh,
awesome.
absolutely. Now, for those of you who have not seen this, it is of the utmost highest recommendation that I say this. You have to see this film. It is a beautiful film. And I'm not saying don't watch the remake. Watch the remake by all means. Give it your own shake. See what you think.
Yeah.
I personally, I thought it was horrendous. You might like it. Who knows? But to me, this is head and shoulders above the remake, and it's just an amazing film.
Yeah,
All right,
exactly.
so let's go to the budget and box office on this one. So budget at the time was about 23 million,
Okay.
which is about 48.9 million dollars today. And box office, it did about 93.7 million, which in today is about 199.5 million.
Mhm.
So it did very, very, very well for an independent film.
Right.
Yeah. So reviews and scores. Oh, well, let's go with some key standout moments and performances. Where do you start?
Jesus.
I mean, I'll start with Michael Wincott as the villain.
Mhm.
He was just deliciously nasty and mean. Was the perfect villain. You have Brandon Lee's beautiful performance as Eric Draven, cinematography, soundtrack, just an incredible feast for the eyes and the ears. So
Mhm.
I mean things like that. Just cinematography, the story structure, and the cast was fantastic. Even Ernie Hudson, who we
I
didn't
was gonna
mention,
mention that, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And Sarah, I forgot her name, and she was amazing as well. So yeah, I mean, just a damn near perfect film.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna ask me what I thought with with the key performance. I mean, I would just have to echo you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just a perfect mix of everything.
Mhm.
So let's get into some reviews and scores on this. Roger Ebert, he loved it, and he called it a stunning work of visual style.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Nailed it.
yeah, definitely. IMDb is sitting at 7.5, Metascore 72, Rotten Tomatoes 87%, with an audience score of 90%, and Letterboxd has it at 3.8 out of 5 stars.
Mm.
So yeah, so it's very, very well loved. It was very well received. I don't think they, due to the tragic results of the film, I don't think they could have come out with a more perfect outcome to this film. It was just beautiful, and it is a testament and a living testament to Brandon Lee, his life and his work.
Yeah, it definitely.
Yeah. So sequels, spin-offs. Well, 1996, there was a sequel called The Crow City of Angels, which had an equally cool soundtrack. It had a great soundtrack.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, but it fell a little flat. I mean, they did try to continue with the format of the comic books, which is okay. Now here's the next chapter.
Which they did well. I thought that, that's what they were supposed to do. And if you think about it, you have such a masterpiece as, what we got with Brandon Lee. It's hard, so hard to, to even come close. So, I mean, had City of Angels came out, before, we probably would have been like, "Oh wow, that was a great movie."
Right, right.
But compared to the first one, I mean, big shoes to freaking fill.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
the tough one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're expecting, it to hit those emotional highs and those emotional lows and so forth.
Mhm.
So yeah, it did fall short. And then in 2000, there was The Crow Salvation.
Mhm.
And I believe, I'm not sure if that was direct to video.
Yeah, I
I
think it was.
Yeah, and then The Crow Wicked Prayer in 2005, which was for sure direct to video. And, they were okay. I haven't seen them.
I'm curious.
Yeah, after watching the new iteration of The Crow, I'm curious to go back on those two. And of course, we have The Crow 2024.
Mm.
And that's about it. I mean, I'm sure with this new Crow, they plan to make this a new franchise. But I don't think so. I mean, the movie actually lost money. Yeah, so it was a huge loss.
I mean, so when I first heard that Bill Skarsgård was gonna play the part of, of Eric Draven, I thought, "Oh, okay, this is gonna be pretty badass," you know? There was even some, fan art that was going around with him, painted up, like Eric. from the original, and I thought, oh, that looks perfect. And from the beginning they totally lost me when they showed up when they showed a picture of him looking like freaking the Joker.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on, dude.
Yeah, it was horrible. Yeah, it was bad. I mean, you know, in the film, in this new iteration, it takes about an hour or so, but or about an hour and 10 minutes, hour five, I don't know. Deep into the film, he becomes the Crow, and it's not a great transformation. It just is. I mean, I didn't mind the fact that I had to wait that long.
It
Give me
was just
something
the
good,
story, yeah.
the story itself. So enough of that pile of dog
Atrocity.
shit. Yeah, that atrocity. Alrighty. So let's go with our ratings. I'll go first. Well, it was a tragic, beautiful, dark, gothic love story that it hits all the marks and then some outside of the screen itself. It's just perfect. I loved it. I'm gonna have to give this 9 out of 10 vinyl records.
Okay, all right, pretty solid. Um, I thought this movie was pure perfection. It had awesome, action sequences. The love story was just, on point. Um, at the time, the goth trend was just freaking, booming at the time. Just a beautifully dark movie. I have to give this 10 vinyl records.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I can't argue with that. It's a beautiful film. I mean, enough said. I mean, what else can you say? So, I mean,
Oh,
I can go on for hours on it, but so let's go on with some further recommendations of this dead but not dead kind of theme.
okay.
Um, well, this is one that I really liked. It's a flawed film, but it's so cute and so adorable. It's a film called Chances Are from 1989,
Chances
and
are I
it's
vaguely remember that title.
it's with Sybil Shepherd
Uh-huh.
and Robert Downey Jr.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's so cute. It's adorable. It's about this woman who becomes a widow, and like 20 years later, she meets this young man who happens to be the reincarnation of her dead husband. And it's hilarious. It's cute. I think if I'm not mistaken, Phoebe Cates is in this movie. No, not Phoebe Cates. I forgot the actress, but it's a cute movie. A lot of fun. Really recommend it. It's, just for fun. It's not a perfect film, but it's good. The other film I want to recommend is a movie called Heaven Can Wait from 1978 with Warren Beatty.
Okay, this movie I do remember seeing as a kid. I was really young, and I know it was heartbreaking.
Yes, and it's beautiful, and it's a lot of fun also. So that one I definitely recommend. And here's my favorite of the trio, okay?
Okay.
That I have to recommend 150%.
Okay.
Movie called All of Me
All of me.
from 1984, and it stars Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin.
Okay.
Now, if you haven't seen this, we're going to cover this eventually, so
Okay.
you're gonna see this eventually.
Okay.
And it's basically Lily Tomlin is this woman who we all love. We love
Mhm.
Lily
Oh
Tomlin.
yeah, she's awesome.
And she's this super uber rich woman who's dying. So she comes across a shaman who's able to transfer her soul into the body of a young woman, and then the young woman will transfer into her dying body. Okay. So they get this and they pay her millions of dollars for this and so forth. And so she's doing this, right? So
Mhm.
here comes Steve Martin, and he's walking down. He's a high level attorney, he's walking down the street, passes the building that they're doing this ritual in. So the soul travels out of Lily Tomlin's body and into the magic bowl, right?
Oh God.
Somebody knocks the bowl over, flies out the window, and hits Steve Martin over the head.
Oh God.
And it hits him on the left side of his body. Now, half his body is possessed by the soul of Lily Tomlin.
Oh my God. Okay, this movie's already awesome.
Oh my God. Some of the best physical comedy I've ever seen from Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin. Even though you barely see her in the film, she's there and she is fucking amazing. This movie is a must. So for those of you who haven't seen it, please see this movie.
That sounds freaking awesome. I want to see this movie.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, overall, I mean, these Dead but Not Dead movies are pretty interesting, and I love the way You know, a lot of filmmakers and writers have been able to play with this idea, you know, and they're all different. I mean, that's what I love. You got Chances Are, which is a reincarnation movie, All of Me, which is a soul possession movie. You have, uh, you know, Death Becomes Her, you know, they're dead and they sold their soul. So there's so many ways that in creative ways that I've seen this done, and it doesn't get old. It's always a lot of fun.
That's freaking awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's been interesting. These two films, really one was a lot of fun, and the other one was just a beautiful fairy tale of you know, of love.
Yeah, definitely. Please, if you haven't seen these movies, you know, go see it, please. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Alrighty. So let's start winding this down. So folks, please don't forget to join us next week as we have our very first ever Christmas special. That's right. Our Yuletide cheer, ringing, you know, Santa Claus, eggnog, all that good stuff. Ho, ho, ho. And we're going to have a couple of very awesome guests from
I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait. These guys are awesome. They from across the pond in Scotland is Gavin and Gary from the Meandering Movie Podcast. They're going to be joining us for some Yuletide cheer. So we can't wait to have them on, and we can't wait to work with these guys. They're pretty awesome. Gary, Gavin, we're looking forward to it.
We're ready for you.
All righty. And the films we're covering are The Muppets Christmas Carol and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Awesome movies. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a blast. So, alrighty. So, folks, we really hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for listening. Please help to support the podcast by giving us a nice 5-star rating, leave a good review. Another way you can help to support us is simply to subscribe and or follow us on Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Audible, Boomplay, or wherever you get your podcast fix. Also, don't forget to drop by our Instagram page. We got a lot of cool stuff on there. We do our flash reviews there as well. Check us out on TikTok. We have a YouTube channel where we have all of our regular episodes drop as well. All this stuff, you can find it in the Linktree link below in the show notes. So give it a click. Check it out. You can also contact us directly by email to thefilmjoepod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. So that's about it, right?
I think so. I think you've covered it.
Okay, so with that being said, I'm Joe.
I'm Daisy.
And this is the Filmjoe Podcast,
where film talk happens.